business, all right? This is Peggy Pashir, and I'm going to call the Select Board meeting to order on May 7th, 2020. We are by Zoom meeting again, and we are, Colin is recording and videotaping us on Fact TV. We are again in remote locations. Sarah Downing is at Town Hall, and she is responsible for handling this Zoom. Regina Borden is with us, and she will be taking minutes. Steve D'Alessio, and at some point, I'm sure Cheryl Mayberry will join us as well. As usual, because we are in separate locations, we will be doing roll call votes as we move through the agenda, which is already up on the screen so that you can see it. Steve, would you like to start, please?
Yep, I make a motion to accept the accounts payable check register in the amount of $57,207.84 for checks issued 5/8/2020. Includes $27,264.05 payment to E. Houghton. Viewed those invoices and they looked okay.
Yeah, I read all of those as well. They had quite a bit of work to do.
Yep.
That's reflected in these invoices. I second that motion. Are there any comments or questions about it? Hi, Cheryl.
Cheryl's here.
If not,
I was reading.
Okay, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. We are on accounts payable. Cheryl, have you had a chance to look at them?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I was making sure I had checked all the documents.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Steve?
Aye.
Calling for a vote. Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The accounts payable are approved.
I make a motion to accept the payroll register totaling $25,811.36 for checks dated 5/8/2020 and the 9/41 payroll tax transfer of $5,183.31.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments about it? All right, I'll call for a roll call vote. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The payroll register is approved. Let's go on.
I make a motion to accept the select board minutes of April 30th, 2020.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions about it? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The select board minutes for April 30th, 2020 are approved.
I make a motion to accept the non-public select board session minutes of April 30th, 2020, and they shall remain sealed.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions about these minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The non-public select board session for April 30th is approved and it will remain sealed. And please mark it so, Sarah.
Yes.
We acknowledge the committee reports, the broadband committee meeting of March 11th, broadband committee meeting minutes of March 26th, and broadband committee meeting minutes March 31st, 2020.
Okay, thank you. And let's go on to the tax warrant, please.
I make a motion to accept the tax collector warrant for the amount of $5,786,581 for the first tax bill of 2020.
Sarah, can
Second.
you put that up so we can see it? Thank you.
Yep, let me,
It will help Regina if she sees it, I think, in taking these minutes.
let me go scroll up. Wondering if can you, let's see.
Well,
We have a lot of stuff in here, so hold on.
sorry if you can't
Yeah.
call it up. I just assumed you'd have it in here.
Yeah, I just had to kind of scroll into, can you see it?
No.
Yeah, I saw it in the bigger picture. Yeah.
Let me see right here. I want to figure out how to get into
That's
this.
it, the tax collector's warrant right there that you just highlighted in blue.
Yeah, this one's right here, and then this is the detail here. Just figure out how to get it larger. Hold on, let me make it larger.
That's pretty good.
There you
That's
go.
fine.
That's good.
Are there any
You got it?
questions?
Okay. The
Are
details
there any
on this
questions
next
about
page.
this? Any question about this
Nope.
or comments? It's based on the last year's rates, correct?
Right, it's half of last year's plus any adjustments that have been made through assessing.
And there have been some adjustments made, isn't that correct?
Right, because they have new construction, that'd be mainly and anything discovered during the reval cycle.
Okay, thank you. Well, if there are, it's been moved and seconded. If there are no questions or discussion, Steve,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So the tax collector's warrant is approved. This will now go to Sandy for her to handle, correct?
Correct. She knows it's coming.
Okay, good. I'm sure she's pleased that it's coming.
She is.
I make a motion to accept the property tax abatement on map 8, lot 61 for the amount of $4,769.52.
Second.
Are there any questions about this?
For the amount of
So this reduced value, did Avatar make that determination?
Yes, they did. They had, there was an appraisal sent in, which Lauren, I think
Okay.
down, it's following, you can see it's very lengthy down here, like pages
Okay.
of feedback. I usually just stick to this last piece right here, which gives you kind of the summary.
Yeah.
And the major part really was how the holes, the feature, the hole was, the golfing hole was appraised. So she lowered it.
Okay.
Avatar did.
Yeah, it was a significant drop, actually.
Yes.
It was very significant.
Are there any other questions or comments about it? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. So this abatement for map 8, lot 61 is approved.
The only comment I want to make on these Hooper Golf properties, that the abatement is so drastic, the valuation. I'm wondering why Avatar didn't do that on the first try around. It's a significant drop when you think 50, we're reducing the holes by a significant amount.
They
And
did have to submit an appraisal. I mean,
I know, but we hired Avatar as our appraiser,
Assessor.
assessor. So what was the basis that they wasn't accurate by over 100%?
well, I think the conservation easement added in, she kind of reflected on that too. And then we actually they put it in current use. So I think it's
I
kind
guess
of
it's
combining all of it.
My point is that it relied on the abatement process for Avatar to actually look in detail into their appraisal and their assessment. It should have been done during the assessment cycle, not after the abatement process, that they should be really looking into the details. But I make a motion to accept the property tax abatement for map 8, lot 62 in the amount of $6,006.48.
Second.
Thank you. I think you're right, Steve. I agree with you. I think this should have been done during the original assessment, and then we wouldn't be dealing with these large abatements that are being made.
This isn't just a question of whether there's a deck on a house or not. This is like a fundamental
Shift in policy.
shift in the thing, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Well-
I agree with that. I think it's huge. The change is huge.
Right.
Are there any other questions or comments about it? Hearing
So-
none,
So,
Yeah,
no, wait. Okay, so on lot 61, okay, so it's a 9-hole golf course, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
So what the first reduction was for the 5 holes on the first lot, and the second one, this number 62 was for 4 holes on the lot?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
I put it on the second one. I thought about putting it on the first one, but it's definitely the number of holes. I mean,
Right, because and that's because what, the first parcel is bigger?
it's really to do with the number of golfing holes that are on it. That's where the value, it's kind of a commercial value. Not that I'm an assessor, I don't really know, but there's a value for actually, the holes generate so much revenue or value.
Right,
But
but
if
each
that was-
hole should be the same. So why is the first refund lower than the second if the first has 5 holes and the second has 4? Is that because the size is different of the lot?
I'd have to go back and read all the detail.
All right,
Because it's a lengthy 3-page, there's a lot of factors in there.
Yes,
so,
there-
yeah,
And I
right,
went
but,
just for the top
oh.
level. Without putting it all in here into the actual description.
no, I
it would-
understand that. I'm just, so it sounds to me like the lot size and the valuation of that lot size is
That's true.
somehow-
That's true.
calculates into, in addition to the reduction per hole. I just wanted to make
Right.
sure it was
That's
right.
The
Right.
the
Okay.
reduction per
You're
hole
saying-
is the same on either lot, but each size lot is different.
it's
Yep, they
different.
are different
Right.
size lots.
Okay, I just,
Okay.
because the second one had fewer holes and a bigger abatement.
Bigger.
I think lot 61 is the bigger lot, actually, but I'm just
Oh,
guessing.
We'd have to
okay.
go back and reread all the numerous pages. I read them, but I read them probably a week or 2 ago, whenever it first came, so.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. It's gonna get,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the
I
golfers
see,
are
yeah,
gonna be
he
really happy.
Well, they will be. Well,
says he
hearing no
applied,
more-
yeah.
If there are no more questions, I'm going to call for a vote. Steve,
aye.
Cheryl,
Aye,
and I vote yes as well. So that is approved. The abatement is approved for lot 8. For map 8, lot 62. Thank you.
I make a motion to accept the property tax abatement for map 22, lot 13, in the amount of $1,799.30.
second.
Any questions or comments about this? Hearing
No,
none.
this is the one that he came and spoke to us before this process,
Yes,
right?
It is. It is.
Okay. No, I'm good.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. Steve,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye,
and I vote aye as well, which means we approve map 22, lot 13 for an abatement. Thank you. Okay, the veterans tax credit, please. You want to go back to our agenda? You may.
Okay. All right.
Here we go.
All right, let's go back to a new one. The agenda. Oh, wait a minute. I think I have to pull it up on PDF first, and then it'll take it. Whoops.
Well, we know what's next on the
Yeah.
agenda.
I
Keep
make a
going, I'll
motion
pull it
to
up.
accept the veterans tax credit for map 8, lot 92. A new PA 29 form was to name change with a revocable trust.
second.
Are there any questions about this? Comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Steve,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye,
I vote aye as well. Map, the veterans tax credit, map 8, lot 92 is approved.
I make a motion to accept the current use, current use application for map 13, lot 53, sublot 1. This is an area that we reclaimed land that is being put back into current use.
Where's this land? Oh, I'll second, but where's this land?
Off of Cheney Hill Road.
Okay.
Are there any other questions about it or comments? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Steve? Steve?
Aye.
Thank you. Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So current use map 13, lot 53, sublot 1 is approved. Can we go on to the building
Yeah,
permit, please?
You want me to do it? I'll just do it and give Steve a break. I
Okay,
move to approve building permit 2020-12 to Catherine Ingram at 81 Kingsbury Road, map 8, lot 113. And it is to construct a 64-foot by 26-foot 8-inch home.
okay. Are there any questions about it? Did you all see this when it was sent out to us?
Yes.
I did, yeah, I saw it.
Okay, all right.
Did you second my motion, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, we didn't hear that, but if there aren't any other questions, I'll call for a vote. Cheryl?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The building permit for map 8, lot 113 is approved. Let's go on to old business, please. We have a letter to the Conservation Committee, which is reassuring them that we are confirming that there are enough funds available to complete the work up at the reservoir dam, and using first the forestry account, which is designated from the Conservation Commission for the reservoir dam. Are there any questions about that letter?
No, it looks good.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve it?
I move to approve the letter to the Conservation Commission regarding the reservoir dam repairs.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments about it? We've discussed this before, so this is not new tonight, really. All right, I'll call for a vote. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote yes as well. So we will send that letter to the Conservation Commission regarding the reservoir dam repairs. And now the second thing under old business is the DOT letter regarding lighting on the Arch Bridge. And they have notified us what the cost would be for those new lights, which would be about $60 a month for 3 lights on the bridge. And the letter also indicated that they would in fact put back all those line markings that are gone from the roadway.
Yay.
What kind of questions do you have about this?
Well, the letter doesn't state, we had requested in the original letter that they pay for the lights as part of the project. Their letter to us is requesting that we pay for the lights, not just the electric, but the $3,700+ for the lights for themselves.
Do you have that letter handy, Sarah, at all?
I do. Let me again stop sharing. Hold on so I can get the next one.
Well, they obviously aren't going to do that, are they? They're not going to meet our requests. They'll put them in, but we have to pay for them. How do you feel about that, folks?
I think they need to pay for the lights. It's their road.
I'm sorry, you both spoke at once. So one at a time. Cheryl?
Okay. They're their lights. It's their roadway. I think they should be paying for the lights, and then we'll take up, we agreed to take up the cost of the monthly bill to run them, but it's their roadway. It's their property. They should pay for the lights.
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I have to bring that down. Yeah, if you go to the third paragraph, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It never really says that they're going to pick up the cost.
No, it doesn't. You could assume that they're going to pick up the cost because it says, therefore, the cost per month for Walpole will be $60. They don't really say it's going to be our cost,
Right.
but in fact,
So
it
I'll
doesn't really.
respond back to him to see if we can clarify that response.
I think that's a great idea. You should, because it.
Okay, and then we'll say that we're very committed to paying the $60 a month, but feel strongly that the $37.50 should be part of the project cost. But it
Yes,
wasn't very clear.
No, it isn't clear. I think that was deliberate, but maybe I shouldn't make that comment, but nevertheless,
Yeah.
it isn't clear that they're going to pay for it. I mean, one way you could interpret it, yes, they're going to pay for it, but another is they're going to wait until they get them in and then they'll send us a bill.
Right, exactly. I'm the cynical
right.
one.
It's,
So if you.
I know, Steve, you're rubbing off on people, is what it is. So I agree. I think
I
it's
hope not.
ambiguous and we need clarification.
Yep.
Well, if you'll take care of that, Steve, thank you.
See, if you go up to the second paragraph, Peggy,
Yes,
the last sentence.
Would include replacing the lights and any costs with the work to do this paid for by the town. So we pay for the lights, the installation, and the monthly cost. So why,
Right.
no, we won't
how does
do
that help us? So the only thing we really got out of this so far is sort of, semi-committing to painting the road lines around the COVID crisis, which was their whole selling point as to why we didn't need the lights, because there was adequate painting and marking.
But there isn't adequate painting and marking up there at all.
Exactly, and they're not even committing to that. I mean, that it's very ambiguous at the bottom.
Yep.
Says how to do pavement marking activities throughout the entire state. We're worried about our bridge, right? So, and the safety of people that walk along the bridge. I don't see them really, taking this very seriously.
I don't remember, because I haven't been up that way for a while, obviously, or going through that area, but is there a traffic light that makes everybody stop for pedestrians?
There is a hand signal light, yes, but there are no visible crosswalks. So people could cross anywhere within that triangular section. And there's no visibility to it if you're coming from Vermont and you're heading south on Route 12. There's no stoplight right there for people. I don't believe there's a stoplight to stop people from, kind of merging to the right and heading south on Route 12.
So the walk,
I know
is it really only in one position? Not on both sides of the bridge. The walk light can't be seen.
Yes, I believe there's one on the Almond side, and then the other one I know is across the bridge on the southern side, but I don't think there's anything on the corner along 5 Star. I haven't noticed if there's one there, but I do know that when you stop at the light to head south on Route 12, you can see the hand signal light kind of at 10 o'clock in front of you.
Okay.
So I know that there's at least those two.
Okay. I'll check it out next time I get out.
But there's actually 3 crosswalks in that intersection, and there's not even edge painting. So it's kind of ambiguous as to where exactly the crosswalks are. And I have seen people cross with the hand signal light on or off, however it flashes, and not actually walk in any sort of crosswalk area. They walk kind of diagonal right through the triangular, the tip of the triangle, so to speak.
Well, Steve, if you'll do.
I'll draft a letter for next week. Yep.
right, that would be great. That'd be terrific. There will be next week at our selectmen's meeting, I've asked that Paul Looney appear because Paul will present us. I'll see that you get it ahead of time, but tomorrow we are supposed to receive a copy of the final contract from CCI. We've already, as a as a broadband committee, they've approved the content, but we will get another copy of it from CCI tomorrow, and I will forward it to all of you, but it will be on our agenda for next week, and hopefully that it can be signed next week. As I think I've told you, or maybe I sent this out to the broadband committee, the bond bank has approved, said that our application for the bond is complete, and it will
Right.
be on the agenda for the bond committee for approval.
Great.
So that's
Yeah.
good news.
Yes.
That's good news. And the lot line adjustment, indeed, we will take care of that when the planning committee meets again.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other old business that we should bring up right now, or can we move on to new business?
I'll just tell you quickly that I met with Mike Rao on Monday. We had a really good conversation and talked about a lot of things. And they're still working on their equipment list.
Okay. I heard a rumor today that one of their trucks was towed. And that concerned me.
Yeah, I gave, there are 3 vehicles and I did, are you saying a highway truck or just another piece of property?
A highway truck.
I hadn't heard that, so.
Well, it was a rumor that I heard, so it may not
Okay,
be true, but townspeople periodically send me a note or something, and I got that note today that someone saw that, just as they also saw a police car being towed away as well. So today wasn't a good day for town vehicles. Let's go on to new business then. Which one of you would like to pick up the,
I make a motion to accept the Stone Bank loan documents for the new police car vehicle as voted at town meeting in the amount of $38,000.
second,
are there any questions about this document? We will be required, obviously, to go into town hall this weekend individually to sign these papers. It's exactly,
Yes.
I think, what we approved at in a warrant at town meeting. So if there are no further questions or comments, I'll call for a vote. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
aye.
And I also vote aye. So we are approving this loan from Mascoma Bank to buy a new police car. All right, let's go back to that agenda. Oh, we have a cemetery deed, which is really changing the name on a cemetery lot that was purchased quite some time ago. Sarah, do you want to tell us about it?
Yes, Jody really handled this and it was quite fascinating. Now, Mrs. Grendel, the sole grandchild of the Glaziers, Mr. Glazier, she'll be taking over the management of the lot, and they've been very diligent about tracking their family members in the lot, and they're passing it on to the younger person in the generation to kind of track, you know, how the lot is being used. So they need to reissue the deed because now Mrs. Grendel needs to manage the lot, the deed.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion to accept this change? Well, I guess we would say change the owner. Reissuing.
Motion to reissue the cemetery deed for lot 117-1/2 to a new administrator.
Second,
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about it? It's interesting. It's from the 1800s. Wow, they've kept,
Yeah,
that's amazing, isn't it?
it is.
I'll call for a vote. Steve?
aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye as yes as well. So we are approving the change or the reissuance of this cemetery deed in the village cemetery. Okay, Westmoreland Walpole boundary
Interesting.
survey.
Okay, yeah.
It's an interesting, I don't know what the meaning or purpose of it is, but a letter from a land surveyor that Patricia Rodriguez and John Cordiff are have some questions evidently about the town line between Westmoreland and Walpole. We know that the town of Westmoreland has also received this letter. And Mr. Franklin has asked to meet with us. I think he did the same in Westmoreland, and they just sort of indicated that he could send them his questions. Comments? Any from anybody?
I don't have a problem if he wants to attend by Zoom.
All right. Cheryl, how do you feel about that?
Can you say that again, Steve? You kind of broke up.
I don't have a problem with him sending the questions in advance and then appearing on Zoom at the meeting.
No, yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's fine.
I agree that we should have him send us his questions before he comes, so that if it requires any research on our part, we can do that.
Yes.
All right. So Sarah, if you will communicate with Mr. Franklin, the land surveyor, that if he'd like to send us his questions and appear then after he has sent us the questions and allowed us to look at them, and then he can appear and you can send him the Zoom session.
Will do.
All right. We have at least, well, Paul will be with us next week, but we could probably handle both of them. Okay. Let's go on to the next item under new business. That's Burdick's and Spencer's. I can give you the information on Spencer's after you've looked at Burdick's, but I will recuse myself because of my other involvements with the foundation. So I won't take a vote. I'll vote with Burdick's, but not Spencer's.
I spoke with both Tom and Mark Houghton regarding the tent,
Okay.
and there's no issue from Mark's point of view. And Tom is familiar with all the permits that he needs to get.
Okay. And what are those permits?
Because the tent is over 400 square feet, he needs to get like a gathering permit. There's liquor licensing that has to change, not liquor licensing changes, but Mark has to do some work for that. It has to meet fire code. So again, it's more of a burden on the fire department than on anybody else.
Well,
But-
yes, it is. There has to be a tent inspection check.
Right, all of that has to be done by the fire department.
That's right. And permit to operate a place of assembly.
Right, exactly.
All right. Those are the things.
I think the tent was gonna come in with sides, and Mark has already told him that there's can't be sides on the tent. And he has to have a chain around it of some sort to prevent people from wandering out with liquor. We also are going to need to waive the open container requirement too at the same time.
All right. Should we wait then for those permits so that we see them, that he has
I
them?
think we can approve this tonight, and then we never usually see the permits from the fire department. You think about this as Bastille Day and Oktoberfest.
Right.
It's the same basic thing.
Okay. No, we never have seen those before. But
No, it's something, and when I'm talking with Mark again, it turns out they do quite a few inspections. I was really surprised at the high number of inspections that they do in the town. It's not just a few a month kind of a thing. It's almost every day.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's a lot of work on their part.
It's appropriate.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because Tuesday, you probably both tuned in to that conference call that's held every Tuesday on legal issues. And this was one that was discussed in detail by Parisi, who I guess is the state fire marshal.
Right.
Or I think that's what his title is. So yes, well, that's good.
So I would make a motion to accept the Burdick's tent for outside seating and to waive the open container requirement.
I will second, but I have some questions.
All right. Please.
Okay, so did I hear you correctly that this is a tent that they've used for these other events, the same
It's
size?
similar. They bought this one.
Because what I can't tell from this picture, I see this sort of in and out, and I know that there's a patch of grass because sometimes people park parallel to that patch of grass, like where these arrows are. So I'm just trying to envision how wide is that from the sidewalk of the building in front of Burdick's to that patch of grass? Is that?
If you see in Tom's sketch, he says still parallel parking along that section.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Okay, but I'm not buying that it's more than 16 feet from the edge of that tent to the parallel. That just, to me, I think it goes out further. And I don't think the lanes is with parking. To me, visually, this looks wider than it actually will be. So I'm wondering.
He said it was two car lengths. He said like 2 car widths. I'm sorry. From where the parallel parking to the platform tent would be 2 car lengths. 2 cars could go through there. I don't think this is to scale.
So, right, well, that's what I mean. I'm just trying to imagine if there are cars parked there, it's really only one way. So it needs at least a car width and then a distance for safety and then the edge of the tent. So I'm saying, I guess in proportion, it's narrower than this looks, but still safe.
Probably is. But it still works. He said there was 2 cars.
What I understand, Cheryl, that once a car parallel parks, there's still 2 car widths before you get to the tent.
Right, and how wide is a car? Like,
I think that's the ideal.
6 feet,
12 feet.
Yeah.
So it's like 12 feet.
Real.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be more than that. So.
I have a suggestion.
Okay. All right. So I think the picture is out of proportion, but based on the description, I kind of got the sense of that, but it makes the tent look really small and the parking lot look really big. And I know it's not this big. So I just wanted to make sure.
I usually attend either Bastille Day or the Oktoberfest or both. And frankly, I think it is when cars are parked there, it is extraordinarily difficult and potentially dangerous for people to move through there in another car. I suggest that we prohibit parallel parking along there so that we ensure that it is safe and traffic can in fact get through there.
Okay, I'll modify the motion to approve as presented, approve the plan with the stipulation that there'll be no parallel parking in front of the tent.
Second.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. So we are voting on whether in fact we approve the tent as it has been presented and that we waive the container requirements and that we prohibit parallel parking along there with cones or something so that there is adequate safety involved in traffic traveling through that area. Steve, I'm going to call
Second,
for a vote.
oh, whoops, Steve.
Aye.
Second, I'm calling for a vote. I was just repeating it. Steve? And
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote yes as well, so that's what we have approved. Spencer's, who also would like to have outdoor seating, is requesting that we, in fact, and I think I sent along to you a sketch they'd made, which is not easy to read. They are requesting that they be able to put tables on the sidewalk in front of the restaurant and tables along the side that run along the, essentially their handicapped ramp. Their measurements suggest there's adequate space for walking along the sidewalk. I question that. Certainly there's adequate space in those parking spaces along the handicapped ramp, if you can visualize that as you look at Spencer's. But I think we would have to, for it to be really safe, we would probably have to block the sidewalk off and potentially block off those parking spaces in front with cones as well, so that pedestrians could walk, in fact, where those parking spaces are, in order to make arrangements for tables to appear in front of Spencer's. That's similar, if I'm reading things correctly, what's happening in Portsmouth with similar restaurants that are virtually on the street without lots of space around them. Now, as I can present that, but I can't really continue because I need to recuse myself from any vote.
You need a minimum of 12 feet. You have to be, right, it's almost 12 feet that you need, because the wait staff can't be within 6 foot of the table.
Well, they're going to have to walk up to the table to put food on it.
Right.
That's not what the order said.
Well, then how are
So-
they supposed to serve the food?
I know, I asked the same question.
I mean, that's
But-
kind of verdicts as well. You can't be within 12 feet of the table. That makes
Well,
no
that's if they're gonna put two tables across from each other, they need to be, technically, they need to be 12 foot apart, but
the
we'll call
tables,
it what it is.
the wait
Right,
staff.
but they don't want the wait staff to deliver the plates to the tables, so I don't know how that works. But anyway, I don't know about blocking the sidewalk, huh? Is that practical up there?
Depends on what hours they're open, probably. It also would depend on whether or not we are willing to block the parking right in front of them.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the side lot, you know, where the parking spaces are along the side there. I don't know about the sidewalk in front. That seems an awful small area. And then to start putting people out in the street with
Well,
cones and, I don't know.
Right, unless they're not, right, unless they're prohibiting parking right in front of the building. There's not enough room there.
Yeah, I don't know. That one is kind of iffy.
We can
Is the
see what they
sketch in
want
here?
though. If
I
it's
haven't
seen
covered
it,
though,
Sarah.
when it's sidewalk is. What?
Do you have the sketch that Peggy sent out, Sarah?
I don't have it.
I don't either, so I'm
Send it
trying to,
you. It
or
was
I
on-
can't find it. I apologize if you did send it, but I couldn't locate it.
it's very difficult to read because it was drawn by hand, and it wasn't clear on the their email, but someone else who's seeing it recommended that if that were to be approved, that we would have to approve and stop parking in front of that section on Westminster Street, so that
Yeah,
it would
that's
be
that's the part that bothers me. It's just not a parking lot that we're saying you can't park it. It's now the road. And I'm worried about somebody coming through that intersection there.
Cheryl, I'm sorry, I haven't got that to throw. I don't think I've got it in my pile here to throw it up, and I don't think you'd see it anyway if I were put
Okay.
it on the screen. Very pale.
I say that we table it till next week till we get some more information.
Yeah, yeah, and a clearer diagram of what they're actually looking to do. I agree.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to table the Spencer's request until more information is received.
Second,
All right, are there any other questions or comments? Then I'll call for a vote. This is a motion to postpone until the next select board meeting, which will be on, what day is that? The
14th?
yeah, May 14th.
Because we need more information about their seating arrangements and table arrangements.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. Steve,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
and I'm recusing myself, so the ayes have it, and we will notify them. If you'll give me permission, I'll notify them of this, all right?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
I'll copy you on the email that I send.
Can you scroll down a little bit, Sarah? I'm trying to see what the picture is.
Uh,
No? Oh, there it goes.
There's the mask or scarf coming up.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, this, you're skipping over the frontline responders stipend?
No,
I-
that's
I-
fine.
No, I didn't have anything for that.
All right, well, we can talk about it. As we've heard the order from the governor, and he made the order that all first responders would be given a stipend of $300 per week, and that part-timers would get $150 a week. He gave no details, so that was left to other people to supply those details, obviously. And they've come out. There are several worksheets that have popped up on various sites on the newhampshire.gov site. And it is clear that the town is to supply the state and there's a document that they can fill out. We have to supply them with all the names that we have for first responders. And that would be our police department, because obviously the fire district is responsible for supplying their list. We know that we have people who work for us part-time who work for other towns as well. And it is clear from all the guidelines that they may not receive this stipend from multiple towns. So we will have to find out where other people are working and if in fact they're going to receive stipends for that town. It's only good for 8 weeks, but it was started effective the day it was announced, which was May 4th. It ends at I think the end of July, or in July sometime. Or maybe it's the 1st of July. At any rate, we need to supply all of that information. We will be reimbursed, which means this comes out of our funds first. No one has to pay New Hampshire retirement fees out of it, but they have to pay tax fees out of it. That's at least as I understand it. Some of you may know more about that, but that's my understanding at this point. And Rich has done a good deal of research on it. And there are lots of questions out there about it.
I would just check on the New Hampshire retirement portion, because I know that when we pay stipends, we have to pay retirement monies. We have to pay for the retirement on any monies that they receive.
I know.
I heard the NHMA is going to have more information also.
Yeah, my concern with it, I think it's fine to pay them, but I think the rules need to come from a single source. New Hampshire Municipal Association being one of them. Because we're picking a lot of stuff up from other towns and what other people have had a conversation with and so forth.
The material I'm reading you came from the Homeland Security Emergency.
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm reading for you.
That's good. If that's a valid resource. Yeah, we need to pay it, so let's just do it.
Yeah, we don't have an option. It's an order.
Right.
Now, is this part of that funding that we can be reimbursed for expenses due to
This
COVID-19?
is separate.
It's separate
This is-
reimbursement.
Oh, okay.
But that brings up a very good issue. The CARES Act, we have to accept that. And that money that they're listing, that 91,400 and some dollars that we're going to be eligible for, we have to, as a board, select that. And because it is emergency funding, I've also received from the New Hampshire Municipal Association a statement that says that the select board can actually accept that funding and not go through public hearings as to whether or not we should accept it. There's no.
Isn't it
public-
a reimbursement again?
It is
Peggy?
a reimbursement. Yes, it is a reimbursement. So we have
Right.
to keep, and we've already started keeping track of how much money we're spending that we think can be, in fact, allocated to this.
Yeah, one of the
obviously-
things that we should be allocating to this is Brad's time, almost all of it.
And I'm thinking about all the touchless items we put in the bathrooms.
Well, we're keeping.
Yeah,
track
and
of that.
everything we've bought, but the bigger thing is Brad's time. All of Brad's time should be put towards this thing.
Okay,
Because he's spending most of his time cleaning and disinfecting and all the rest of that stuff.
Well, one of the things that we do not have that we've discussed all the time we were talking about the emergency management operation was the fact that we have inadequate communication between town hall and the first responders, and that we should upgrade that with appropriate communication equipment. And I don't know why we couldn't get that equipment now,
Yeah.
still in this crisis, and charge it to this line.
I agree, and I've spoken to Mark, and he's supposed to get going on that. In addition, we talked about the possibility of the generator being part of this, but that might be a stretch. But the town will be using Joe DiBernardo to work on the Vilas Bridge survey. And we're gonna add doing the survey of the town hall property at the same time.
That's
So we'll
good,
know where to
because
put so we can determine exactly where to put a generator. There's also a 50% match for the generator available.
when is he going to do this survey? There's a timeline, obviously, on the use of this money.
Yeah, I think the survey is very close, like within another week or so.
Good.
I can bring you up to speed right now on the Vilas Bridge as well.
All right, do.
They're completing a survey, they'll update all the maps to know where everything is. The intent is to bring it to what I would say is a construction-ready point, should we have to get off the bridge quickly.
All right, good.
And this will satisfy, all the work that's being done now will satisfy the DES and the DOT requirements.
Good.
We're going to locate all our sewer lines and everything, is that right? Through
Yeah,
the-
I don't know if we'll go ahead with the project unless we have to, but that's a decision we can make downstream.
Good.
But right now, they're moving forward with getting all the documentation together.
Good. Well, I think we need to, you might maybe want to wait a week, but we need to, in fact, accept the CARES money that we are going to be allocated.
Yeah, I make a motion to accept the CARES allocation to the town of Walpole.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about it? You've seen that list. Lucy sent us a reminder today of what we were going to be allocated. We cannot exceed that expenditure, but we have up to that amount that we can in fact charge off against. And she made it, well, the whole document makes it very clear that this is not to replace budget money. It's not going to help your budget. Okay, I'm going to call for a vote, please. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote yes. So we have agreed to accept the money being allocated to us under the CARES Act for local governments. Okay, let's look at this sign, this mask sign. We've evidently had comments that the mask sign says out at the recycling center states that masks are required. And some folks have been challenging that, although the recycling personnel, as I understand it, do not call anybody on it if they don't have a mask. Am I
That's
correct?
correct. That's correct. There was an interaction between two different users of the recycle center that did escalate somewhat, and Ben was able to step in, sort of, distract one of them and deter them from continuing the conversation. So it's really a resident and a visitor, or maybe someone that doesn't live full-time in Walpole, I'm not sure. But yes, they were having a very, I guess, somewhat aggressive discussion about the necessity of wearing masks. So one was wearing one was not. So he was able to dispel that. And I hadn't heard of anything else really, but when I was there on Saturday, some people were wearing them, some were not. The staff was all wearing them. And, they weren't calling people out for it. They were just, they want people to use them just because, when you're recycling and you're going in those little sections, it's really hard to keep an appropriate distance. Or you have to wait until somebody's done going through all their stuff, and that can take a while. So.
Well, one of the suggestions was that we potentially change the sign to recommended rather than required. However, I think we have a right as a local community if we want to require them.
My problem with it is that they can't maintain social distancing. And pretty much all the statements have been, if you can't maintain social distancing, you should be wearing a mask.
I agree.
That's the guidance.
I agree with that.
I'm good with requiring it as well, though the question now becomes, how do you enforce it?
I agree with you. But I think what they're doing is fine. Don't necessarily call people out on it, but just maybe we can change the sign to strongly recommend that masks or scarves be used.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that either.
We also had a sign up there that said, protect yourself, wear a mask.
Yeah.
Right. Or please bring your mask with you next time, or,
Right.
for
Right.
those that see it that didn't bring their mask.
I can tell you that my wife went there and she forgot her mask, turned around and came home and got it, which I thought was fine. She was perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's a good idea. Because if you can't social distance, I think it's a good idea.
That's true. Yeah, because it was difficult when I was doing the recycling and having to kind of keep stepping back because the person dumping in bin 1, needed to come to 2 or 3, and which is, so yeah, I agree. I think the masks are important.
Well, do you want to leave this one alone then, or do you want to add to it or subtract or whatever? What's your pleasure?
I think it's okay. I think we could add some posters to the building for people to see when they're doing their actual recycling.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with the sign the way it is, Peggy.
All right. Okay. And I think Ben's approach to enforcement of not saying anything is appropriate.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll leave it alone then.
I'm gonna encourage them to add a few more like little signs on the building about masks too.
Okay, all right.
You know, to say, please, you know, bring your mask with you, or please make sure to wear your mask or something like that.
Yeah, they probably should only allow one person at a time in front of the recycling bins. Because I don't know how
Yeah,
you
that's gonna be,
social distance,
it's
but I
gonna
know
be a
it's
long
hard.
wait.
It's a
It
long
is,
wait
because
then.
some people don't pre-sort, you know?
Right, and they walk up and down.
Yes,
They wait till they get there to do their sorting. But I would in fact put up a sign saying protect yourself. That's the whole point of the mask.
yeah,
Yep,
And to protect others.
Well, yes, it's obviously goes both ways, but it's but if people won't protect others, at least try to get them to see that it's protecting themselves as well. Are there any other items for new business tonight?
yeah, I have one, Peggy.
All right,
Um, dam, particularly Mill Pond Dam, I don't know if we do any others, but where does it fall? Where does the cost fall to maintain, not maintain the dam, but to control the floodwaters of the dam? At Mill Pond, we had to lift out several of the floodgates,
yes,
and, you know, of course, we used Houghton, and we got a bill for them.
yes. I
And the
saw
question
that.
is, where do we charge that to? I've never known us to do that kind of control before, so I don't know where the cost always went. Is that a road department expense?
I think I'll just weigh in on this. You know, usually stormwater is a highway, has been handled by highway in my
Right,
experience. So I'm thinking highway.
I would agree with that. If we had a public works department, it wouldn't be a question, but we don't. So I would say that yes, it's a highway expense.
okay, I'll mark the invoice accordingly. Rich was asking if it should go against our PDIP account. I don't think that's right.
I don't think so, and it's not a sewer account.
No, it's basic, you know, flood control because of storm, actually because of the beavers, but that's another.
So, so Houghton lifted the gates and they have an hourly rate for services. So is there a highway line for that kind of stuff?
I don't think so. It'll just go under maintenance of something. We'll find a line to put it, but next year it's not a big invoice. It's only a few $100s, but
We'll have, but it seems to come up more often now. So we will
Right.
probably have to add to their budget to account for this.
yeah, for next year. Yeah, it's not a lot, but we need to recognize the fact that some of our dams are going to need to be maintained and to be controlled.
I agree. And yeah, and we should really clarify that, you know, when does that kind of stuff become conservation versus, you know, because that was one of the things Mike pointed out to me, was wondering if, you know, beaver management and all that kind of stuff really fell under conservation. And I told him, no, I thought it fell under highway because it was creating a stormwater issue. So, but I do think we should clarify that for people.
Yeah, I do
You know.
too. And, you know, it's I don't know, the conservation crew has limited funds for stuff that they can use.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I mean, yeah, they don't really have I mean, their forestry money comes in only when they, in fact, authorize a cut, you know, in town forest lands. They don't have a great way to constantly have a stream of income.
I can
Right.
barely hear you, Peggy.
I'm sorry, I'll get closer to the my microphone. Can you hear me
Hey.
now at all?
Yeah, you're a little louder. Yes.
I thought about moving the screen down. My screen sits up on my desk rather than down in front of me. That's why
Yeah.
I'm not right on top of it. As I don't know, are the two of you using laptops?
Yes,
What
Yes.
Yeah, I'm using a desktop, and my desktop sits up, not down. I'll move
Right.
it next week and see if it makes a difference in terms of my being closer to the screen. All right. Anything else under new business? I think that's a good question that you've asked, Steve. Is there anything else that we need to bring before the select board meeting tonight? Or can we go on into the Hooper trustee meeting?
I think we can go into Hooper.
I make a motion to go into Hooper.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of going into the Hooper trustee meeting?